What's up, YouTube? Capital G here, looking at the brand new Vendread Archetype that are going to premiere as a TCG Exclusive and Code of the Duelist. These guys are going to be released alongside of Formula Athletes, and it is a Ritual Zombie Archetype, which is a really crazy combination. And I knew that we were going to get a TCG Exclusive Ritual Monster because if you looked at the Code of the Duelist checklist, there was a Ritual Monster there with the TCG Exclusives. I just didn't know it was actually going to end up being a full-fledged archetype, and the fact that it's zombie and ritual is interesting because when I heard that I was like, okay, maybe the ritual monster will be able to summon itself from the graveyard, because I don't know about you guys, but there are always two things that I associate with zombies and Yu-Gi-Oh! Number one is like some type of graveyard recursion and summoning from the graveyard, and you know, if you look at the old zombies, like when zombies started becoming really big and competitively playable back in like GX with what was that set? Tactical Evolution, things like Ill Blood and Zombie Master, a lot of cards revolved around the graveyard, continuing on with like Mizuki and Plague Spreader Zombie, and then the second thing is like Zero Defense, and that's just a weird quirky thing that Konami has built into a bunch of zombies. I don't know why they do that whole Zero Defense thing, but those are two things that I associate with zombies. There are 4 direct support cards within the archetype, and then there's one card that is kind of like support, but it's not in the Vendread archetype, and it looks like one of the cards is confirmed to be secret rare because looks like people have already got their hands on Code of the Duelist, as you can see in these low quality images. But yeah, the secret rare is the trap card, and you know, I mean, it's so far it seems like it's the only holo, so it's really not all that bad. But let's go ahead and look at this new zombie ritual archetype, which is interesting. The first card is the card that's not directly in the archetype. It's called Samurai Skull. It's a Dark Samurai effect monster, level 4, 1700 attack, 0 defense because it's a zombie, so Konami being Konami. When this card is normal summon, you can send 1 zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. If this face-up card and its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect. So, translation: if you have it on the field and your opponent uses Drident or Regeki or Slumber or something like that, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower zombie monster from your deck, except another copy of Samurai Skull. That's a really good card. In fact, I think this is a very good overall card because zombies like being in the graveyard. The first thing I thought about was just normal summon this and drop Mizuki in the graveyard, and if this dies, summon it back. I mean, it won't have its effect activated when special summoned from the graveyard, but you know, ritual decks do need good normal summons. That's one of the things that ritual decks always lack, which is why they usually run Manju and Senju. So normal monsters, or excuse me, monsters that can be normal summoned and get you some you know, fuel setup, that's pretty good. And also, spoiler alert, the ritual card lets you it lets you ritual summon using cards from your graveyard too, so technically this could be a 1 card like ritual payment, which is super good. Next up is the actual ritual monster itself. It's called Revendread Slayer. This is what the artwork looks like, although it's kind of low image. I mean, it's low quality. It's not going to be the greatest image, but pretty sure better pictures will come out probably by this weekend. It says you can ritual summon this card with any Vendread ritual spell, so let's assume that there's probably going to be more than one. It says once per battle, if this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, quick effect, you can banish 1 zombie monster from your graveyard. This card gains, this card gains 300 attack. If this ritual summon card is sent to the graveyard, you can add 1 ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, and if you do, send 1 Vendread monster from your deck to the graveyard. You can only use this effect of Revendread Slayer once per turn. Okay, so to me, this guy isn't really a powerhouse, but there are other cards in this archetype that kind of empower him and give him other effects. I mean, being able to go up to 2700 is okay. It's not anything crazy. 2700 attack for a level 6 is actually pretty decent, but if this guy dies, then he could just search another copy of a ritual spell, and that is actually pretty decent. He also has that Foolish Burial effect. It seems like this deck constantly wants to throw monsters into the graveyards, which zombies naturally want to do anyway, so his second effect is okay. I wish maybe he had like a destruction effect on field. I'd rather have that than getting 300 attack, because I don't really think that that's all that in a bag of chips. Next up is another level 4. This is Vendread Revenants. It's a dark zombie effect monster, 1800 attack, 200 defense. I don't know why this one has defense. The other two monsters both have 0 defense, and then this one just randomly comes along and he's like, I got defense cap. Man, you broke up the theme. Anyways, if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, battle, or card effect, and sent to your graveyard, you can special summon this card. I like that a lot, but banish it when it leaves the field. Okay, don't care. Still like it. A Vendread monster ritual summoned using this card gains this effect. So basically, if you summon Slayer using Revenants, your Slayer will now gain an additional effect. That effect is once per turn, quick effect. You can target one special summon monster your opponent controls, banish it. Okay, now Slayer is actually looking pretty damn decent, because now if you're telling me that at least once per turn I can take one of my opponent's Exceed monsters, I can take out one of their link summons to try and break up their field, I can take out a synchro summon monster, now we're actually getting somewhere. Like Slayer is not honestly that impressive by himself, but if you empower him to where every turn he can start banishing special summon monsters, now we're getting somewhere, and Slayer actually can start feeling like a fucking monster. Like, he feels like a beast now. So I think that this card is actually pretty good, and when it dies it just summons itself back. I don't care if it banishes itself after that. You give me a monster that summons itself back for free, I'll take that any day of the week. Next up, we have the Ritual Spell card. This says it can be used to ritual summon any Vendread ritual monster. Now, that's interesting, right? That first part, because it kind of would allude, at least to me, that there could be other Vendread ritual monsters. But then the second part of this card, it kind of directly conflicts with that. So it says, obviously, it can be used to summon any Vendread ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. Holy crap, I just realized that. I did not realize that it's summoned from the graveyard. Oh, wow. I've already read this card, and I just thought it was from the hand. Oh, okay. That totally makes sense. A ritual that can summon from the graveyard because it's zombie bait. Oh, wow. That is actually, holy crap. While shooting this video, my opinion just changed, and this card is way better than I thought it was. You must also tribute monsters from your side of the field or hand, or banish zombie monsters from your graveyard. That's important, because not having to use your field and hand as a resource, just using your graveyard, definitely important. Whose levels total or exceed the level of the ritual monster you ritual summon. If a Revendread Slayer or Slayers you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So it basically has that secondary effect, much like Machine Angel Ritual, to where if your monsters are threatened, you can basically banish this. First off, that's really good. Second off, being able to ritual summon from the graveyard is fucking amazing. Look at Necros Cycle. And then third, here's the weird thing about this card, right? So it specifies in the second effect that it only protects Slayer, but then in the first effect, it says it can special summon any Vendread. So it's like, I guess it leaves the door open for Konami to release other ritual monsters, but then they won't be protected unless they like count as Slayer on the field. And by the way, because it says Slayer right here, Jerome McHale has already confirmed that this card does work with preparation, or excuse me, pre-preparation of rights, which is weird because I don't know. A lot of people were saying that it shouldn't work with pre-prep, but he already came out on Facebook and he was like, yeah, it does count for, or it does work with pre-preparation of rights. Wow, man, my opinion, these cards are looking really spicy right now. Then the last card is the Trap, the secret rare. This card is just, this is so much utility. I love this ritual spell. The Trap says target one monster your opponent controls that has a level. So as crazy as this is gonna sound, that's kind of restrictive because Links and Exceeds don't have levels. Okay, tribute it, and if you do, special summon one Vendread token. It is a zombie dark, 0 attack, 0 defense, so you're not really doing that much with the token other than using it for a ritual summon, with a level equal to the tributed monster's original level. So you probably want to use high level monsters so that you can use it for ritual summon. While the token while the token special summoned by this effect is on the field, you cannot normal summon or special summon monsters except Vendread monsters. I actually don't think that that's that big of a deal. I mean, I guess not being able to normal summon, you won't be able to summon like a Samurai Skull, but I don't think that that's bad. I mean, to me, this kind of seems like spot removal. It's weird because it is a trap card, and I do like the fact that it can just kind of get rid of anything without some crazy stupid effect like, you know, having to skip your draw phase, because I'm kind of like associating this with like something like Offerings to the Doom, you know what I mean? Your opponent has a masterpiece on the field, that they summoned using like one of their spells and a trap, or excuse me, a spell and maybe a monster, and you can just, you know, set this and then activate the effect and bam, goodbye masterpiece, and then hopefully you can use it for a ritual summon. I mean, this is definitely a good utility card. My only question with the trap, which by the way, I don't even think I said what the card's name was, Vendread Reorigin is the trap and Revendread Reorigin is the ritual spell. But my only question with Reorigin is, how effective is a trap card really going to be in rituals? I've never really seen trap cards work all that well in rituals. In fact, the only trap card that I've ever really just straight up loved is probably, and I'm talking about in the context of rituals, is probably Shinobird Salvation. That card is amazing because it is removal and it stops your opponent's battle phase. Like, it stops attacks at the same time. This card is nice. It is kind of a one card out to any problem monster your opponent has on the field, and then it provides you with potential ritual fodder. But I don't know, man, ritual cards, or excuse me, ritual decks and traps have never really worked all that well. And I'm not talking about like Vanity's Emptiness and, you know, ritual decks running broken traps. I'm talking about ritual decks running like you know, traps that were designed for the archetype. It just historically hasn't really worked all that well. But the question is, what do you guys think of the Vendreads? What do you guys think of this new zombie ritual archetype? I think these cards are actually really cool. I hope that we get at least one more ritual monster, and it's gonna have to count as Slayer on the field. Otherwise, the ritual spell card is not gonna protect it, and that's gonna suck. But this is kind of interesting, and I gotta say, this looks a lot better than the FA archetype. Maybe FA archetype are just going to be UA 2.0, but like even worse. I don't know. Whatever you guys think, leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not already.